Hey, this is D.D. Verni from Overkill and D.D. Verni and the Cadillac Band, and you are listening to That Metal Interview.
That Metal Interview.
Dreadful Company is the name of D.D. Verni's brand new album from his solo band V-E-R-N-I, Verni. And that's his last name, of course. For those of you that know who D.D. is, he is one of the co-founders for the thrash legendary band Overkill. He is the bassist and he does backup vocals for the band. But for Verni, he does all the leads, and it's a slight change in genre. It's rock, but I would call it punk rock maybe. So you'll be the judge. Right now, I'm going to show you his latest video and single from Verni. This is Cemetery Safari. Check it out.
Enter into none. The best is yet to come.
That was Cemetery Safari, the brand new video and single from Verni, D.D. Verni's solo band. And it is a touch of punk, and he has several special guests, musicians, guitar players, drummers, etc. on this album, as he talks about on this chat with your favorite podcast, That Metal Interview. With your friend James, that thanks you once more for your presence. Thank you for downloading, sharing, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and ringing the bell. So thank you, Dee for this great chat, and we'll keep it short. And let's listen to our conversation with Dee Verni. Check it out. What part of the planet are you at?
I am in New Jersey in the US of A. It's around 5 o'clock. I live down the shore, down the street from the beach. It's a beautiful day. Things are good.
Awesome. I'm in Texas, so unfortunately it's hot here, so it's horrible.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So before we get into your new Verni record, I want to ask how you got into metal and or punk. How did that happen, and how old were you?
I was probably about 15 or so. Probably into metal first, and it was probably Kiss. Kiss or Black Sabbath kind of got me into the fold, you know. That's when I really started really loving metal first, and then kind of grew that from there. Aerosmith, Ted Nugent, stuff back in, you know, right in the early 80s, probably late 70s even. And right around then, too, is when I kind of discovered the Ramones, because that's also when I first started playing music. And I really couldn't play. I never took any lessons. I couldn't play along to a Kiss record, a Sabbath record. They were too good for that, you know. But the Ramones I could play to pretty quickly. Just simple 3-chord progressions. You pick up a bass and kind of get into the song, play the melodies really quick. So, you know, then from there was, you know, I get into the Sex Pistols, the Misfits some. Then, like I said, like into Sabbath. Then the new wave of British heavy metal came, and Maiden and Priest and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And my playing got better, so I started to gravitate towards, oh, I can play the Sabbath stuff now. I can play this metal stuff, but I still love the punk. And then we started our own band, you know, Overkill, and thrash started heating up a little bit, and we were like, wow, we can mix both the things we love. And you know, for us and for me, that's, you know, that's how thrash came along. That's how I kind of grew into, you know, to me, it's just thrash metal is just a mix of punk and metal. You know, that's what it is and was at the beginning. Yeah. So are you saying you played bass before guitar, or was guitar first? No, bass. Yeah. I had no interest in playing guitar whatsoever because Gene Simmons did not play guitar. So, you know, I just wanted to be like Kiss. So if he was playing bass, that's what I wanted to play. I didn't start playing much guitar until much later. So at what point was the Lubricants? Of course. God, I was in high school. And that was, well, that was a lot of fun. You know, the first song I ever stood on stage and played in my life was Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones. First song I ever did. And I think I was like maybe a sophomore in high school, something like that. But, you know, all the kids in school were just like mesmerized. They were like, my God, there's a punk band in school. You know, we didn't know anything about punk. We were like complete outcasts, ripping up T-shirts and pinning them back together and wearing leather jackets and ripping up all our jeans to have holes in the knees so we could be like the Ramones. But yeah, and then the name, you know, we just thought it was, you know, the most offensive possible name that we could come up with was a lubricated cunt. We'll just kind of put that together and and have the lubricants, which we did for a number of years, and it was kind of cool. We played CBGBs, we played Max's Kansas City, we played the Trudy Hellers, we played, you know, a lot of the punk mainstays in the city back when we were kids. So it was fun. Very cool. So who's the original lineup for Overkill? Of course, you and Blitz. Is it Rat Skates, or is there somebody before that? Or nope, me, Blitz, and Rat, and this guy named Rob Paseric. He was the very first That was the very first origins of Overkill. Me and Rat had known each other. We grew up together and we played in lubricants together. And we put an ad in the paper looking for a guitar player and a singer to join me and him, which is a bass player and a drummer. And Blitz and this guy, Rob, that he was playing with, they were looking for a drummer and a bass player. So they answered our ad. We drove up, I think they were up in New York. We drove up there somewhere, me and Rat, up to the guitar player, Rob's house. And we went down in the basement. And, you know, back then when you were auditioning each other, you'd have a list of songs. So we had like probably TNT, Green Manalishi, you know, kind of the Priest, Maiden, AC/DC kind of songs of the day. And that's how you auditioned. You played those songs, and it was like, if there was a good vibe, and it was like, and it was pretty good. We were pretty good right from day one. It's like, wow, this feels really good. So it was, I don't think we even auditioned anything after that. We were just like, okay, we're a band now.
So how long did you guys do the circuit there before getting signed or attracting a label, you know?
Maybe 2 or 3 years before Megaforce signed us. You know, we had a decent following. We were playing in L'Amour's in New York. We were playing clubs in Jersey. And we were, you know, growing every time we played. You know, we played, there'd be 200 people. Then there was 400. Then there was 800. Then there was, you know, little by little. And by the time we got signed with Megaforce, you know, we were playing probably to 1,000 people. And so that's what you did back then. You kind of grew your following. You got more and more popular. And then you tried to get a label to get interested and come down to your show. So that's what we did. And Johnny and Marcia, we had known from Megaforce. We had known them for a number of years. They ran the local flea market, and they came down to a show, and they said, let's do this. And little by little, we were signed.
I first heard of Overkill on Headbangers Ball, Taking Over and Unity We Stand. So that's the first song I heard, and so thank you for that. I got the cassette right away. I went to the mall here and I got the cassette. So
yeah, well, I remember too when we did that. Even when we wrote that song, we thought, oh, maybe this is not heavy enough. We almost left it off the record. Then we put it on the record, and the label and our managers, everybody wanted us to do that song. And we're like, no, it's not heavy enough. We should be doing like Deny the Cross or Wrecking Crew. And they're like, yeah, but this one, you know, you have a little bit of a bigger audience maybe. So, and it turned out that they were probably right. It was one of our most popular songs.
Yeah, it's an awesome jam for sure. So Dreadful Company dropping July 26th, right? m-theroy.
That's it. Yep.
How long was the making of this project, D.D.?
Well, probably a lifetime, actually, because I've always wanted to do kind of a punk record. This is, even though it's a punk record, there's plenty of kind of metal stuff on, metal edge stuff on it too. So it really is kind of a mix. But I guess during COVID, you know, I think like a lot of us, I just had a lot of time in the studio. Nobody was playing, nobody was touring. And so I know a lot of people are like kind of really bummed. It's like, man, I'm not inspired to write anything. But to me, I was like, oh my God, I get 10 hours a day in the studio, day after day. I don't have to go anywhere, I don't have to do anything. I wrote 3 records during that time. And one of them was this record. And so it probably took, I don't know, a bunch of months to get it written. And then I just kept kind of whittling away a little bit. I kind of demoed it up. Then I gave it to Jason, got the drums done. Then the drums came back to me. You know, when you're doing it all yourself, it takes longer. So then I kind of put the guitars down, I put the bass down, then I get to the vocals. You know, it's a it's a long project when it's not a full band, much longer project.
Yeah, see, Jason, you mean Jason Bittner, right?
Yeah, Jason. Yep, Jason Bittner. He played drums on it. And I wasn't sure who I was going to get asked to play drums on it, but we had been doing stuff with Overkill now, and Jason just kind of, he's easy to work with. He understands what I like and what I don't like and where I'm coming from. When I give him a demo and I get back some tracks and he's playing against it, it's usually pretty close, pretty quick. So I asked him if he wanted to do it, and he was into it. He didn't have a lot of things going on at the time too. And he's not much of a punk guy. He doesn't really like punk rock. And I told him, I said, don't play it like you think a punk rock guy would play it. Just play it what you think belongs there. I think the only thing I did say to him was no double bass.
Yeah.
No double bass on the punk on this record, which was cool because he came up with these cool beats where like definitely some cool right foot stuff that maybe he wouldn't normally have done, but you can hear it sounds like him playing drums for sure.
Also, you got Charlie Benante, right? On
yes.
Wow.
Charlie's playing.
Awesome jam, by the way. I love that song.
Yeah, thanks. Well, Charlie's not playing drums on that. Charlie's playing guitar on that.
Oh wow!
He's doing a solo on that. Not playing drums. I knew I played a bunch of the solos on the record. The last solo record I did, I had a bunch of shredders, and I was like, shredders doesn't kind of make sense on this record. I'm like, but punk rock guys, they weren't going to make sense either, you know. So I was like, who could I get that's kind of in between? And I was driving around and I heard SOD came on the radio, and I said, oh, I forgot about SOD, man. They're fucking great. They had a little hardcore, a little metal, a little mix of shit. And I remember Charlie did one solo on that record. And I said, wow, how cool would it be if I could get Charlie to do a few solos? So I called him up, and you know, he's pretty busy with a lot of the stuff he goes, but he's like, yeah, send it over, you know. So I sent over a few songs, and he kind of liked that one. So he got, you know, in between, he had a little bit of time here, so he banged out a solo, sent it back. And it's killer. It's a great solo on it.
Oh wow! I thought he played drums on there. This is backwards. I got it backwards.
No, he's playing guitar. Yeah, that was fun.
Wow, so cool. So who else did you invite on this record, Verni?
I have this guy Virus, who's a guitar player in Dope. He played on my last solo record. He did all the rhythms. He did a solo or two, and I had a lot of players on the last one. But he played a few solos on this, and Mike from Symphony X, he played on my last one too. But he was doing some choir stuff for me, some orchestrations that are on the record. There's a few things like that. There's one song that kind of has a little bit of a Queen kind of ending, and so he put the solo on that too, because Mike's not a punk rock guy either. Virus has got some punk rock in him, but Mike not so much. But they're such phenomenal players. They could, either one of them, anything they touch is going to sound great. So I had those two and Charlie.
Now you mentioned the Ramones. That's an influence, of course. Who else? Where'd you get your ideas for this record? It's a very cool bunch of melodies and songs. Where do you get your ideas for this? Besides the Ramones, any other bands that influence you?
Oh, I mean, you know, like the punk stuff. I grew up with Misfits. You know, one of my all-time favorites. Sex Pistols were a great band. Green Day, I absolutely loved. One of my all-time favorite bands. And you know who else? Volbeat. I love the way they kind of mix. There's, you know, some songs are a little bit more punk rocky, some have a little more 50s edge, some, I love how they kind of pull those things together, so definitely inspired by some of that. And even some Metallica, I love the covers that they do, the Misfit songs, or So What, and just, they kind of have a good, when they do it, I like the way they do the metal doing punk rock songs has a good energy, so I'm kind of inspired by some of that too. It's like mix all that into a big soup, and it's like, all right, something like that, you know, was what I was kind of trying for.
So how about the album title, Dreadful Company? What's behind that title? It's a cool title though. What's behind it?
Well, you know, it's funny. Somebody asked me about that, and they said, you know, you're talking, you know, who are you talking about? What's that about? And they thought it was like a self-deprecating kind of thing. And I said, what makes you think I was talking about me? And he was like, oh, God, are you talking about everybody else? I'm like, I don't know. You know, what am I talking about? I don't know. But really, that just came about. And number one, I love the word dreadful. And I love the old, I don't know if you're Penny Dreadfuls, I don't know if you heard of them, but there was these old newspapers that used to tell these kind of horrible stories, but funny, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but and they were called Penny Dreadfuls, and I used to think that they were really cool, and I love Bad Company, and I love that kind of name and idea for a record too, so it was kind of a riff on that. But I think too, you know, that it's just how a lot of people think about metalheads and punk rock guys in general. It's like, you know, you see a handful of them coming down the street, it's like, oh God, you know, well, you know, who is this crew? And you know, if you're not part of the scene, you don't realize that, you know, metalheads and punk rock guys are just, you know, down to earth, just such regular people. They just look like they could be out of their minds, you know. So it's kind of a little bit of kind of pulling everything in together for that.
So the typical question, D.D, which is your favorite track here on this album?
Geez, I don't know. I really like a lot of songs on this record. You know, I had a lot of fun doing lyrics on this record, which I normally do not like writing lyrics. It's a pain in the ass to stay focused enough, you know, to write something that makes sense. But I was having such fun and laughing at different things. Like Cemetery Safari, we just put that one out. The lyrics on that one were so much fun to do.
Oh yeah.
So I really like that one. Lunkhead, I really love too. That's kind of the lead track on the record, so I love that one. You know, there's a bunch of them that I really like. Hard to pick one.
Will we see the band on tour? This Verni project?
Well, you know, I don't know. I keep getting asked about that a lot, and it would be fun. I really would have a lot of fun doing it. I thought if I did do some solo shows, I could do like a little bit of everything. I could do some solo material. I could do some Bronx Casket Company. I had another band that put out a few records. Maybe I'd do a Lubricant song. I mean, that would be fucking insane. Oh. Maybe do an Overkill song or two. You know, just kind of a whole career kind of thing. Maybe just mix in some cover songs that I really loved growing up, you know. It'd just be a really fun night to do. So we'll see. You know, maybe that could be on the horizon. I'd certainly be up for it if something came up that was fun to do. Maybe the Volbeat guys will call. I'd love to go out with them.
All right. Or here's a crazy idea here. Opening for Overkill, double duty.
Oh, you're like the third guy that's asked me this. It's like I can barely get through one show right now, let alone two shows a night. But you know, if it was a festival situation where, you know, Overkill was on later in the day and they could put my solo band on earlier in the day on like on another stage or something, it's like, oh, I can manage that. That would be okay. So maybe something like that down the road would make sense. Or if it was support on a tour that, you know, at this point, if it's going to be like a pain in the ass and a lot of work, but if it looks like it'd be fun, hey, where do I sign? I'll be up there in a second.
What do you do to evolve as a musician, D.D? Is there do you rehearse a lot, or do you not rehearse, or how do you keep relevant?
I don't really rehearse a lot, but I am writing songs all the time. I have another band called D.D. Verni and the Cadillac Band, which is like a big band swing music, and I just finished up a second record for that we're mixing right now. So I always have my hand in some kind of pot, writing music, and I'm always listening to music and trying to find something new, trying to find a new artist, trying to find something that sometimes it's even an old artist that I never listened to back in the day, because I was a metalhead growing up. So it's like a lot of even really big popular bands I never listened to, because I was just talking to somebody about it the other day, like the Eagles. It's like, I don't know anything about the Eagles, nothing, you know. But now I listen to them and I say, oh wow, there's some cool shit there, you know. It's just have appreciation for it that I never, as a young guy, would be like, I'm not listening to this wimpy ass shit, you know. But the older you get, you find sometimes old bands that are now new, or just new artists that I didn't know of. So I'm always looking for new music, and then always writing music, whether it's, you know, here's a punk record, and then on the other hand, I'm mixing a swing record, and then we're getting ready for an Overkill tour. So I'm always kind of got my hands in a lot of different things, trying to really just have fun. That's just what I enjoy doing.
Do you think that's the reason? Because you mentioned you write songs year round, 12 months out of the year. You got riffs in your head, you got ideas. Where does that come from? Do you think it's from the stuff you listen to, or?
Yeah, probably. You know, I like to be busy too, even with Overkill. I mean, we have 20 records. It's like, you know, I'll see somebody, you know, one of our contemporaries, like, I don't know, whoever it is, Exodus is putting out their 14th record. I'm like, wow, there's 6 behind us? Man. You know, and it was just, for Overkill, we just got into that groove of like 18-month cycles because that was paying the bills, and then we could get right back on tour, which is what we really loved doing the best, because once your record ran its course, you couldn't keep playing. It would be like, you have to stop. And we have to make a new record. So we just kind of got in the habit of that. And the idea that I would have to start like a new record from scratch with no ideas, it'd be like, oh my God, I couldn't do that, you know? So even now, like when I start for an Overkill record, I'll just have so many tapes and riffs and stuff to pull from to at least get the ball rolling, you know? And if I wasn't doing that all year, you know, it would be a much harder process and not as fun. So I just got in the habit of kind of always writing. And then I got more even discerning, because I used to kind of just put everything on tape. Now I'd be like, it's not good enough. It doesn't go on tape. So the stuff that goes on tape is like all stuff that I know is pretty good. So when I listen back, I don't have to go through 2,000 riffs. You know what I mean? I can go through 60 that are all kind of good, usable things to me, because, you know, not everything you play is a gem. You know, some stuff's not so great. So you don't have to keep it all.
Has there been a time where you bring a riff to the table and maybe one of the guys in Overkill says, you know what, this riff it kind of sucks, or it's not that good, or do you take that personally? Or
I don't know that I would take it personally. I'm not, I mean, I don't say, I would hope that nobody would say this sucks. You know, like I'm not digging that, or it doesn't feel right to me. I'd be like, oh, you know, all right, but you know, what else did you have for it? Or even more than that, sometimes it'll be like, it sounds too much like this, and then you'll be like, oh God, I didn't even think of that, and you're like, oh, kind of does. You're right, I didn't even think of that. So maybe you change it a little bit. But for Overkill, you know, and these other projects, it's just me, so I don't really have to bounce it off anybody. I can just kind of do what I want. And for Overkill, for the most part, I kind of write the music, and then I send it off to Blitz. And then when we get together, it's more like, you know, we'll change the speed and the tempos, or maybe we'll change the key, but we don't really change too many parts. So it's not really that so much. You know, sometimes the guys will say, you know, I love this one, I love this one, I love this one. This one's okay, this one's okay. But that's okay. Like I said, not every record, every song is a 10. You try, but, you know, there's always going to be some that everybody likes more. And that's just the way a record is, you know.
I'm a fan, so it's all badass to me. Just a question, you know.
Yep.
Scorched, everything's badass. So, yeah, I saw you guys in San Antonio last year, so you guys kicked ass. Awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, so you missed the 2024 Latin America tour. You guys got Ellefson to fill in. How's your, give us an update on your shoulder.
Well, I mean, it's getting there. I've done a couple of shows since, and it's felt pretty good, but I'm still in physical therapy, you know, multiple times a week. Doctor told me it was going to take a year. It's been about 6 months. So we have a tour in Europe coming up, and we'll see how that goes. Well, you know, we have a festival next week. I've got to apply to Portugal. It's not so much playing, because I can play. It's really just tours where I have to play night after night after night, because that's what kind of did the damage in the first place. So we'll see. I'll just keep working as hard as I can, but you know, if I have to keep doing little bits and pieces till I can get up to full strength, you know, that's what I'll do.
How did you feel watching Ellefson play your parts, stuff that you wrote and stuff you recorded?
Oh, I mean, in some ways it's kind of cool. I mean, I've known David forever, and he's a great player. I mean, if I could pick anybody, it would probably be him or Frank and Anthrax. I mean, I think both of them are great players. So, I mean, you hate to miss shows. Everybody hates to miss shows, you know what I mean? Because it's just so much fun. But it wasn't as weird as I thought it was going to be. It was be like, okay, you know, this is okay. This will be okay. And the guys and all in the band all know him too. So it was like, you know, kind of like a friend of yours taking your car for a ride. Brings you back. He says, wow, it's a fucking badass car. I'm like, yeah, no. Right. You know, that was kind of the vibe.
It was kind of weird for us fans. I saw those YouTube videos of, you know, people uploaded, and I'm watching Overkill, but there's no Verni, so that's kind of strange.
It's a little weird. I mean, I get it for fans, and you know, it's weird for anybody. You know, like when I see people that filled in for Charlie Benante, I was like, wow, it's Anthrax without, or Danny Looker was just playing with Anthrax and without Frank. It's like, so anytime, you know, a guy that you're used to seeing is not there, it's kind of weird. But, that's kind of the world we live in now. Sometimes you have to miss some shows, and you just hope that you get somebody who's, kind of a great player, to fill in. Did you ever think AC/DC would do a show without Brian Johnson? My God. But it was a little weird, but it was like, Axl did a pretty good job. It was pretty good, I got to say, So it's just, it's either that or not playing. And I think the kids, at the end of the day, the music is kind of the best thing. So, that's the way it has to go sometimes.
I play some guitar, and I can recognize and pick out sounds and different styles, and I can pick out your playing anywhere, anyhow, any day. How did you develop that sound, that tone on the bass? Was that from the beginning, from the get-go, or how did you do that?
I don't think probably not the first or second record, but it was really a third one, Under the Influence, where I really kind of found that sound. And that most of my sound came from that it was only 4 guys in the band. There was only 1 guitar player. So when Bobby would play a lead in the early days, the whole band would kind of drop out. And it would be like, the guitars are gone. He's just playing the solo. So it would be like, I have to do something about my sound and how I play to keep the energy of the band up through the solo section. So when the guitars come back in, it doesn't sound like, like the band just got lost. And also just my playing style, I just play really hard. It's hard to get the sound that I have without playing really, really hard. And it's not anything on purpose. It's just how I naturally play. I play the guitar the same way. And for on the bass, but when you play the bass really hard, that sound kind of starts to come out. That's also what completely trashed and ruined my shoulder. It's just playing really, really hard for a lot of years. And I think between those two things is be like, I would turn up the mid-range and the treble on the bass so you could really not feel the bass, but hear it. So I could carry the band when the guitars were doing their solos. And then that sound just kind of developed into part of what the band did. And then it was, recognizable, where that's kind of one of the main things people say to me. It's that Overkill bass sound. And even on my solo record, they're like, why didn't you use that sound? I'm like, because it's me. But I was like, I feel like it's an Overkill sound, even though, I could take it and put it in something else that I do, but I feel like it belongs over with Overkill. So I kind of went for a different kind of sound on my solo stuff.
So I have a fan question here, Ernie from San Antonio. He's asking if Overkill will ever re-record some of the first records as the Cavaliers have done recently.
I don't know. That's I thought I just read that the guys in Testament are doing not full albums, but some of the old catalog, just a song here, a song there. And I was like, I think that's a pretty cool idea. I don't think I'd want to do a whole record, but just a couple of bonus tracks. Maybe do like one from the first couple of records. Maybe do, I don't know, Rotten to the Core and Wrecking Crew. But do it with this band and contemporary sounds, just as a couple of bonus tracks. I like that idea. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that could be something cool.
That'd be badass. So give us an update real quick. An update on the Cadillac band and Bronx Casket Company, if you will.
Bronx Casket Company is not really doing anything right now, although I saw Jack, the guitar player, at the last Overkill show, and it's been 25 years since we did the first record, and the label approached me about putting the first record out on vinyl, and he said, we should do a few shows just to commemorate 25 years and release the vinyl. And I was like, well, that's not a crazy idea. That might be fun. So, I mean, I don't know. That could maybe be something. And the Cadillac band thing. I've been really involved with that for the last 6 months. We've been really into, I just have so many amazing people playing on this new record. Great horn players, great drummer, great bass player. I mean, just the list goes on and on. The people that are on this record, horn players that play with McCartney and Rod Stewart, and the bass player and the drummer from Setzer's band, and this guy Ron Fondelli, who mixed Rebel Yell and Pat Benatar and Chicago and Earth, Wind and Fire. He's mixing the record. Just amazing people, and so I'm really pumped about this record. And we're just starting mix on that like last week. So hopefully in the next maybe couple of months we'll finish that up, and then sometime next year, I don't know, maybe next summer, we'll hope to get that out and get some show and do some more shows around that, because those shows we did a handful of shows with those, but I really had a lot of fun. So looking forward to get back to that too.
Awesome. So Dreadful Company dropping July 26th. Thank you, D.D. Thank you for your time. Appreciate that. And you're a cool rock star. You're down to earth.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Most of us are. I mean, the ones that aren't, they give everybody else a bad name, I think. But anyway, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll see you on tour sometime. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Go out and support Mr. D.D. Verni and Overkill as they are on a European tour, I believe, as we speak. And it also depends when you're listening to this episode of That Metal Interview. They could be in a European tour. They could be somewhere around the world. Anyways, the point being, go out and support Mr. Verni and the guys from Overkill. And in case you hear of his solo band playing somewhere, Verni, or his other project, D.D. Verni and the Cadillac Band, which is more of a big band sound. Awesome stuff. You guys should check it out. And his other older band by the name of the Bronx Casket Company. So check it out. Go support Mr. Verni. And we thank you for your support. Thank you for downloading and listening to That Metal Interview. Don't forget to keep it metal.
That Metal Interview.